Hello and welcome to the Wrestle News 365 YouTube channel. We're here again with another video here on Monday, the 2nd of March. We're going to talk today a little bit about Matt Hardy and his update with his WWE contract, where he could be possibly going in the future. Matt Hardy released a video on his YouTube channel at midnight last night Eastern time, so 5 o'clock in the morning over here in the UK, and he gave an update about his WWE contract. So let's get right into that and get into the nitty gritty, all the details that you want to know, and let's discuss where potentially Matt Hardy could end up next. So Matt Hardy, like I said, released a video at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on March the 2nd on his YouTube channel called Thoughts from the Throne. It's a series that he's been doing on his YouTube channel. He's been uploading a lot actually on his YouTube channel. I'll put a little card thing at the top of this video so you can go and check out all of his videos there. I definitely recommend doing that. They're a really interesting watch and a really good insight to his creative process, what he would want to do for his character, what he's been trying to do with his character. It's a fascinating watch, and definitely go along and check those out. But the main talking point that he was talking about in this video was his WWE contract, an update on his WWE contract. And he said that as of March 2nd, 2020, he has currently let his contract with WWE expire and is now referring to himself as a free agent. Now, he stressed quite heavily in this video that this isn't to say that he's completely done with WWE. He thinks he may return at some point to WWE. Certainly put over the company in this video as well, saying about he loves the WWE. The WWE is his home. They've been great to him and his family and his children. And also reminisce slightly about 20 years ago that he wouldn't have the quality of life he currently has now without Vince McMahon, put over Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Also talked about Michael Hayes, of course, was a big mentor to him and an inspiration to him, and said that they're all like family. But he stressed that it now was the time to take a break and become a free agent, which we'll touch on that use of free agent in a minute. But he said he needed to leave WWE. He felt that when it comes to his creative stance and creative outlook on himself and his career for, let's be honest, the last 3 or 4 years that he has left being an active in-ring competitor. That's words from his mouth as well. That's not me just saying he's got 3 or 4 years left. He says he thinks he's got 3 or 4 years left in being an active in-ring competitor, and that the creative input and the creative stance for these remaining 3 or 4 years, himself and the WWE are on different pages when it comes to the creative aspect of that. And Matt Hardy talked about how much he loves the business and he's passionate about the business, which you can't argue. If you look at just his YouTube channel alone, the creative input and the ideas, they're certainly off the wall and they're certainly different, but you don't do that if you're not passionate about the business and passionate about his character. So he talked about that, and he said that these remaining 3 or 4 years that he has left in his career being an in-ring performer are very important to him. And they're important for him to cement his legacy. And he really wants to enter a creative renaissance, which I think was very interesting the way he put it like that. Because let's be honest, obviously the great return that Matt Hardy had with Jeff Hardy at WrestleMania 33, and they had a good run for a year with the tag titles. But ever since then, obviously they split up. Matt Hardy did the Woken Matt Hardy thing, which was a watered down version of the broken Matt Hardy. It never got to that heights, and it just never felt like WWE really gave him the full reign of creative freedom that character, quite frankly, requires. So you can imagine that he feels creatively stifled, and especially when the creative aspect of his character is so important. And like he said, time is ticking when it comes to him. So he really wants to enter a creative renaissance for that. But he himself has admitted that he's 45 years old, he's not 20 years old anymore, and he has to be utilised in a certain way when it comes to his character, his in-ring performance, his booking, all of it. But he certainly feels that he has a lot left to offer and there's a lot left on the table that he has to give, and he wants to give, quite frankly, to the fans, and he wants to entertain. He wants to have this non-stop creative input in his career and character, and that's where WWE and Matt Hardy are on different pages, and that's understandable. I can see both sides of the argument here. I'm not saying WWE's right, I'm not saying Matt Hardy's right, I'm not saying WWE's wrong, I'm not saying Matt Hardy's wrong. Both sides of things make complete sense. From the WWE's point of view, Matt Hardy's 45. His character isn't going to be the world champion or anything silly like that. So why would WWE give Matt Hardy the creative freedom that he's asking for, the creative control? Only Hulk Hogan's had that clause in his contract. They're not going to give it to Matt Hardy. But then from the Matt Hardy side of things, if you give him creative control of his character, look what it's done before. Look what happened in Impact Wrestling with the whole broken Matt Hardy character, which really did set the business on fire in 2016 and bumped the ratings as well for Impact Wrestling at that period of time. So I understand both sides of it, and I think them parting the ways mutually, I think, is the best thing for them. But he also stressed as well that Matt Hardy is positive that at some point he will return to the WWE. He talked about a potential Hall of Fame induction in the future for himself and for Jeff Hardy. But he stressed the need to reevaluate his options at the moment and the importance of where and what is going to be the perfect environment that will allow Matt Hardy to maximize these next few years in his career, the last few years of him being an active in-ring performer. And he stressed the need of having this creative canvas, this creative blank canvas to paint his masterpiece, whether that's broken Matt Hardy, whether it's something different. But he also talked about, like I said, time is ticking and he's too old to waste time at the moment, which makes sense. He also curiously said that he's going to watch everything out there now, starting with Being the Elite, WWE Raw, AEW Dark, NWA Power, Impact Wrestling, WWE Backstage, which has Jeff Hardy on this week, NXT, AEW Dynamite, SmackDown, Ring of Honor, MLW, New Japan, and just try and see where is the best option for him. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about where next. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. He's mentioned Raw and SmackDown. I would be stunned, quite frankly, if he goes back. People will say, well, maybe he's working because that's just the professional wrestling industry that you think everything's a work. But I don't think this is a work. I think Matt Hardy is just trying to stir up interest when he says Raw and SmackDown. I'd be stunned if he goes back. If you look how he was being booked prior to his contract being close to expiring, why would he stay? You know, he's not going to get the creative freedom he wants. WWE's proved that. I don't think WWE has much interest in him being broken Matt Hardy or woken Matt Hardy or anything like that. And Hardy's character that he loves to do, and even an evolution of that, of an off-the-wall character, I just don't think WWE has the interest in that, and I don't think WWE has the interest in giving a 45-year-old Matt Hardy creative control, and I don't think Matt Hardy has any interest in being in a place where he doesn't have creative control. So I think going to Raw and SmackDown are pretty much off the card. Some people will say, well, how is he being used in the last few weeks on Monday Night Raw? I think that was just to facilitate the Edge Randy Orton angle, and it went over even better than they thought, which, if anything, is just done better for Matt Hardy because it gives him more leverage for wherever he's going to negotiate a deal. And like with anything with WWE, they found out too little, too late what they had, and now the contract's expired and they've lost the talent. So I don't expect them to go to Raw and SmackDown. I think that's just Matt Hardy, again, throwing things out there. WWE NXT, could he go there? There have been reports that in some of the contract offers that a role in NXT was offered. Now, we don't know what that is. We don't know if that's a talent in NXT. We don't know if that's a coach at the Performance Center, a producer at NXT. It doesn't seem a good fit, the NXT role. It does in terms of the physicality. You're only competing once a week, maybe a few house shows here and there. But I'm just not sure if a 45-year-old Matt Hardy fits into the whole new generation of WWE talent, up and comers. I know an age limit isn't exactly required here. Mercedes Martinez just debuted of NXT and she's 39. But I just don't think that's the fit there. And whilst he probably would get a higher amount of creative control in his character, I don't think he would get the full creative input that he's looking for, as the buck does stop with Triple H there and Shawn Michaels and the other people that run NXT. And I just don't know if that would work, and I just don't see Matt Hardy staying under the WWE umbrella. I think he's looking to do something different, which would lead to the obvious idea of, is he going to AEW? I've said for quite a while now that I think Matt Hardy's going to AEW. I think it's highly likely he's going to be the Exalted One for the Dark Order. They've teased that in some of the posts. Matt Hardy's teased that in some of the posts, and they even mentioned it. Evil Uno did on a promo on Dynamite last week. He dropped the word obsolete into the promo, which of course is very linked to the broken Matt Hardy character. So some people will say, well, that's obvious, that's a red herring. Maybe maybe, or maybe they're just trying to drop interest. People already kind of know that it might be, or there's a high chance of it being him. So why not stir up some interest doing that? I think it's highly likely. He does have a relationship, of course, with people in power there. When he was Broken Matt Hardy, and the Broken Hardys worked with the Young Bucks in Ring of Honor. They defeated them for the ROH World Tag Team Championships, I believe. So they've got that connection with the Bucks there, and like I said, I think Matt Hardy, that seems like the right fit now, and they would certainly be a company that is still on a prominent stage. He talked about cementing his legacy. We'll touch on the other smaller companies, but AEW is probably the largest stage he can go on now, where he can still reach a wide amount of people, still cement his legacy, and still create that masterpiece that he's on about. And AEW will certainly do that. We've heard Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, lots of people that are working for AEW say, there's no scripts, promos are kind of just, bullet points you have to hit, but go out there, do what you want. The creative process is very collaborative there. So I think that just suits what Matt Hardy's looking for down to a T, doesn't it? So I certainly think AEW is the likely destination for Matt Hardy. Now let's go on to the smaller companies here, because I don't think we can completely rule them out regardless if Hardy goes to AEW or not. So Ring of Honor, Matt Hardy could certainly show up and do a couple of shots in Ring of Honor. I'm not sure what his relationship is like with Marty Scurll, but obviously he has competed in Ring of Honor before. A Broken Matt Hardy has appeared in Ring of Honor before, like I said, former ROH Tag Team Champions. And prior to that, back in the mid-2000s, he had a couple of matches there as well. So certainly possible he could do an appearance there. If he was going to do an appearance for a smaller company, I think it would be the next company we're going to talk about, which is the NWA. The reason why is because NWA Power has a good following on YouTube, and a lot of people within the business are talking about it. You have the Crockett Cup coming up soon, and I'm sure with NWA actually running a larger venue in Atlanta, Georgia for that, I'm sure that they would like to have, maybe Matt Hardy show up there. Also, the thing you have to really consider there, which I think is the real reason I think he could certainly make a few appearances for the NWA brand, is that Billy Corgan's the owner and Dave Lagana is the vice president of the NWA. Now, why is that important? Well, Billy Corgan, he recently spoke about this with Chris Van Vliet, that he was very instrumental in the creative process of creating the whole Broken universe, creating the Broken Matt Hardy character and the Broken Hardy characters whilst he was the president of Impact Wrestling. He spoke about filming the Ultimate Deletion or the Final Deletion, whatever it was called, and the Great War between the Broken Hardys and the Decay and all of that stuff. That was a massive collaborative process, obviously with Matt Hardy himself, but a massive collaborative process between Hardy and Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana. They were instrumental in creating that whole Broken universe that was so successful for Impact Wrestling. So don't rule out seeing Matt Hardy appear a couple of times for NWA before he goes to AEW, or in fact working out a deal where he can both appear for AEW and the NWA. I'm sure Matt Hardy's got enough pull to pull that one off. In terms of MLW, I don't think he'll go there. MLW, they're apparently shopping around for a TV deal at the moment, so we might hear something soon about potential television deals that MLW could happen. But I don't see Matt Hardy going there. Like I said, I think if he goes to a smaller company, I think it would be the NWA, and I certainly could see a situation where he works out a deal where he either signs with AEW but can work a couple of shots with NWA, or he does a couple of NWA appearances and then eventually goes on to AEW. So that's certainly up for debate and up for discussion there. And then finally, New Japan. Now, Matt Hardy, from the top of my head, I can't recall him really doing anything with New Japan. Who knows? Who knows if he could appear there? I don't think personally he will, purely because the travel alone, I don't think that's something that he'd want to do. With AEW, there's obviously the schedule's a lot lighter, and so he can still be with his family, he can still recover. Like he said, he's 45 years old, he needs to look after his body, and needs to work a certain way at this point. So I'm not sure the travel, that would be something he would really want to do. Of course, he could work out a Chris Jericho type deal where he only comes in for a couple of shots a year. We also know about New Japan wanting to expand to the US. They have the New Japan of America brand and those upcoming US shows, and you have the likes of Jon Moxley appearing on there. Chris Jericho, like I said, works for both AEW and New Japan, and we know that certain higher tier AEW talents, such as Cody Rhodes, such as the Bucks, such as Kenny Omega, do actually have it in their contract where they could potentially work for New Japan along with working for AEW if they wanted to. They just haven't exercised that because the way they left New Japan was a bit acrimonious. So Matt Hardy could certainly make a couple of shots there. If he were to work for New Japan, I think it would be a couple of shots at the most. But of course, I'm not sure he's as big a draw as like a Chris Jericho is. He's certainly a big draw and a well-known name, which New Japan like. And they want to get that American audience. So who knows? Who knows? He could definitely do a couple of shots there. But I think the likely destinations that Matt Hardy could appear next, like I said, AEW seems the most likely one for me, the Exalted one. I would be surprised if at this point if he isn't revealed as the Exalted one. Tony Khan in the post-Revolution media scrum said, I can't talk about Matt Hardy and I'll just let him do what he wants to do, sort of thing. And people said, oh, why? Because if he says, oh yeah, we've spoken to Matt Hardy, or if it comes out that, 2 months ago that they agreed that he was going to be the Exalted one or something along those lines, that's a breach of contract. They shouldn't have been speaking to him during that time that he was under contract with WWE, and AEW is a new company, and we know that WWE I'll get it right in a second, loves litigation, easy for me to say, against other companies. They did it with Impact Wrestling. MLW aren't happy with them because they think they're breaching their stars' contracts with them going to NXT and WWE with the likes of Killer Cross and stuff like that. So WWE loves that sort of thing. So if AEW shows their hand that they were talking to stars before their contract expired, then obviously they can expect some letters from WWE in the future. So of course, Tony Khan would brush that off. He did the same with when Jon Moxley made his debut for AEW. They said, when did you make the deal for Moxley to come in? He said, when we were legally allowed to. So he's covering all of his bases there. And let's be honest, why would the president of AEW come out and go, oh yeah, Matt Hardy is the Exalted One? He wouldn't. We're going to see that play out on television or pay-per-view or wherever. And that whole Exalted One thing has ramped up quite significantly in the last few weeks anyway, saying that he's always watching, he's right around the corner. So we could see it as soon as this Wednesday on Dynamite. There's a high potential that could happen. The post-Revolution show, I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Hardy shows up there. So like I said, AEW would be the likely destination for me, but let's not rule out a potential couple of shots for NWA, especially with the Crockett Cup coming up, especially with the relationship with Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana. Matt Hardy even said at one point that if Dave Lagana and Billy Corgan had remained in charge Impact and had successfully taken over there like Billy Corgan wanted to, that he most likely wouldn't have gone back to WWE. He'd have stayed there because he was happy there with the creative process. So let's not rule that out. And let's not rule out any potential one-off shots for New Japan as well. But of course, what do you think? Where do you think Matt Hardy will end up next? How long do you think he will remain a free agent? And what companies, or what order, shall we say, what order do you think the companies, the likelihood of Matt Hardy, the companies that he will appear at next? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video. Bottom right-hand corner, there should be our little watermark. You can just click on there and subscribe to the channel. There's going to be videos coming every day, so we're trying to be as consistent as possible with our uploads. We'll get to a point as well where we tell you our exact upload schedule so you never miss a video. But if you subscribe there, you'll never miss one anyway. So thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.